law student at the University of Zimbabwe, as well as the spokesperson of Zimbabwe Law Students Association. Today we are joined by Simba. Simba, over to you, sir.
Thank you, Melusi. Like you already said, my name is Simba. I'm a lawyer practicing in Harare, or rather, in Zimbabwe at large, with a Harare-based law firm. Thanks for having me.
Thank you so much, Simba. How is law? How is it?
The law is interesting. Obviously, we're practicing at an interesting time.
Okay.
We've just experienced, or we experienced not so many years ago, the change in constitution. So we're really just practicing to try and assist in the alignment of the law to our constitution.
Thank you so much. This is very interesting. Today we are celebrating International World Youth Day. And then today we are joined by a lawyer. So we want to look at what's the role of the law in ensuring a better future for the youth. But then, before we start over, maybe on a simple question, can you tell us maybe a brief of what you understand about the International World Youth Day?
Well, the International Youth Day is really just a day that was set aside to really celebrate the role that young men and women play in developing and shaping tomorrow's goals. So, as you know, from a grouping called the United Nations, they've come up with sustainable goals, and even before the sustainable goals, it was important to set aside time to really celebrate and benchmark the participation of the youth in shaping tomorrow.
Okay, so literally, according to your word, youth are very key in shaping the world of tomorrow. Probably, maybe what are the maybe one or two things that youth need to do, and probably things that rather we advocate for on International World Youth Day.
Critically, to begin with, the youth has to participate.
Okay.
There is to participate. From an economic point of view.
Okay.
They need to participate from a socio-economic point of view, and critically, everything winds down to these two key basis points.
Okay.
Good citizenship is critical to the life of a youth, like you said correctly. So, tomorrow's future is really going to be shaped and directed by today's youth. And how do you even imagine a world?
Okay, wait. Sorry, really to stop you. There was a phrase where like, okay, tomorrow's future is going to be shaped by youth today.
Correct.
Okay, but the idea of if the youth are there to shape tomorrow's future, what then is their role in shaping today's future? I have read of a doctrine known as ageism, where youth are constantly told that no, you know what, you are still young. You literally have your own time. So maybe really, can you engage on that?
Well, you don't have to be a scientist to figure out that the youth have the energy. If you look at comparatively, you'll find that the youth are really on the shop floor of every productive sector.
Okay. So
whilst we have this difficulty or this this tension that comes with handing over, by the old generation to the new generation, it is really the energy of the current youth today that builds nations. What you mentioned speaks more to the control, or rather the creative direction, where you might have a leader, for example, of an entity, who says, no, but you're still too young. But that doesn't negate the fact that it is the young that are on the shop floor, and it is their energy that is being used to fuel whatever development, whichever way you want to look at it.
Okay, so wait, if I get you right, with youth with being a youth comes energy, and that energy is currency, and that currency is what is needed to drive any policy that is there.
Indeed.
Okay. Probably maybe if I can move to our second question, maybe in line with SDG number 3, that seeks to ensure health and well-being at every stage of life. Can you really say that Zimbabwe respects SDG 3, or is simply a doctrine that we pay lip service to?
Interesting question. Critically speaking, Zimbabwe has consistently reaffirmed its commitment to the SDGs as a whole. And part of that, like you mentioned, is SDG 3. What you have is that our government, or rather the government, has introduced through the National Development Strategy 1, which will be in effect from 2020 to 2025. It seeks to really answer this question, to increase spending in healthcare, which is one aspect of SDG 3. critically so, to allow mechanisms where government cannot invest in healthcare, to allow for mechanisms to allow for the funding through private-public partnerships, wherein foreign investors should and will be allowed to come in and invest in these areas that encourage. Also, our national development strategy also looks at the social aspect, good citizenry, commitment to country. So, whilst looking at a vacuum, one would say, as a country, we're struggling, but effective or steps are being taken. Just for an example, the spending in health continues to, our health budget continues to rise.
Okay, so wait, do we agree that to a certain extent what we have been doing might not have been enough, but then we are now adopting a principle of progressive realization of the so-called
Correct. Like you say, progressive, right? Okay. Unfortunately, Rome was never built in a day. Okay. So when we look at the infrastructure,
Rome was never built in a day.
Yes.
But the process really started on one day. And Zimbabwe, is it on that very same day?
I would, depending on who you ask, my personal belief is that Zimbabwe is on its way. Okay. Whilst it's not where you and I and any other young people out there would expect it to be, it's on its way. It is now for us as the youth to then come in and see where we then fit in the achievement of the SDG 3.
But maybe I understand, yes, we are progressively realizing what we want, but where are the loopholes? Where are we missing it from?
Obviously, wellness is closely tied to the economy. Okay. Socioeconomic rights are critical. So, insofar as the alignment, like we mentioned, of our constitution to our everyday practice and the law, there's still a gap there. We expect, or there's an expectation that there should be a more streamlined approach to how our constitution and the rights entrenched in there will be dealt with. Obviously, corruption is taking away from critical resources which would be required to ascertain SDG 3. So it's in areas like that we then say perhaps, or without a doubt, more can be done.
Assuming you were staying in the rural areas, would you still be having the same sentiments that probably you are saying? And I'm taking maybe an example of my brother who stays there in Mukumbura. Can you really say progressive realization is taking place, or is taking place in the townships?
Okay, definitely, I think you're right. Zimbabwe currently stands divided. Well, when I say divided, I mean insofar as geographically. Yeah. The more remote areas, of course, because the more remote areas have never had the same infrastructure. Yeah. Are lagging, still continue to lag behind, right? But like I've always said, depending on how you look at it. For example, now we have commitment, or we have the state's commitment, that they're dedicating a portion of our taxes to ensure that your cousin in Kumbula has access to relatively the same healthcare and wellness facilities as you.
It's something that it's something that is not being done, or something that is in the pipeline.
It's in the pipeline. You see the difficulty of this.
But then wait. Yes. It's something that is in the pipeline. Are there measures under which individuals can see how far the pipeline is? Because probably people they have been doubting if there is a pipeline.
Correct. The difficulty, and you touch on something that's very critical. The difficulty is accountability is a problem. Okay. Information is a problem. Access to information critically is a problem. Whilst you have Twitter, WhatsApp, or the Internet of Things to access all of this information, your cousin in Kumbura doesn't. He doesn't. So this is why it's important that whilst we look at wellness, we as the youth force government to look at all issues as a whole, correct? Yeah. Because internet, or the access to internet, might not be tied directly to your wellness, right? Now, you won't be any sicker if you're not on WhatsApp, correct? Yeah, correct. But because you don't have internet, you don't have access to information, right? You might again not...
So we are saying one thing: information is power.
Information is power.
And the moment you lack information, you are not powerful.
Correct.
So maybe in a measure of wellness, we will also look at, Can my brother there in Mukumbura, can my brother there in Chundura, can they be able to access information?
Can they access information? Can they access the resources required to achieve their wellness?
Because wait, Hitler defines that wellness, it's not only the state of absenteeism of diseases. We look at your economic well-being, your occupational well-being, your social well-being, your political well-being. We also even look at every other thing that is well. But then when we're saying is this doctrine existing? Or probably what measures do you think the government, assuming you are now part of the government, which measures do you think the government should really pay specific mention to ensure that wellness is achieved?
Indeed, the government needs to pay close attention to performance management.
Performance management.
Correct.
One.
After all, the strategy we currently are operating under, or as a country, of course, requires that performance management occurs. So it becomes critical that insofar as financial wellness, what has been done to have financial inclusivity, to have projects, right, to empower not only the youth, but also the citizenry as a whole.
Now that you have touched on empowerment, I'm really particular about that doctrine.
Yes.
Does the doctrine of empowerment really exist, or is a doctrine that we only see printed on t-shirts?
Well, like I said, it depends who you ask. If you ask a young man, a bright young man such as yourself, one would say, yes, empowerment is there. If you ask your cousin Kumbura, it's entirely different. It's an entirely different.
So are we saying empowerment exists, but it exists on the basis of who are you in a society?
Correct. At this stage, it's abundant that it applies to who you are, geographically where you're found, and what circles you're in. Because unfortunately, we haven't, as a country, reached a stage where we have equal opportunities for all.
Okay. So, we take this down. There are no equal opportunities for all.
No.
Wellness is a doctrine that we've been paying lip service to, but we now want to progressively realize but maybe our progress is still very limited.
Yeah, like I said, it depends, because you see the difficulty, as citizens, no one has then come back to us with performance management results.
Okay.
So put differently. So put differently. No one, no one has then come back to us as the citizens and has said, in 2016, this is where we were.
Okay.
In 2019, this is where we were. Correct?
Yes.
So as citizens, we can only measure government's achievement in so far as our personal lives are concerned, right? So it's a very subjective approach where you then think where you were. If perhaps you were in Kambura in 2016, you then think for your journey from Kambura in 2016 to where you are now in August 2022. So this is the difficulty we find ourselves in, where it then seems you have no option but to then say lip service has been paid.
Thank you so much to our beloved viewers. I hope you're getting 1 or 2 points. We'll be right back. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for waiting for us. We are right back. We'll go back to Mr. Simba. Mr. Simba, what needs to be done to curb drug abuse among youth in Zimbabwe, which has been very prevalent?
The law has to change.
Okay.
The law has to change. I mean, the truth of the matter is we have new drugs that 5 years ago we didn't know, right? If you think of it, if you take a walk in the Harare streets, they have all these different names. Dombo, Torino, the list goes on. How many of those drugs are actually listed as drugs? So, from a prosecution point of view, the police needs to be able, and the prosecution needs to be able to actually arrest and prosecute you. Currently, that can't happen for things like in Torino. Did you know this?
Yes.
Right? So, when we say we have a drug problem, we need to ensure that from an enforcement point of view, we're actually able to go in and arrest the drug pushers.
Okay, fine. We need to arrest people who are using drugs. But why are they using drugs?
No, not the users.
Okay.
You see, we need to deal decisively with the suppliers.
With the suppliers.
We need to deal decisively with the suppliers.
Okay.
Currently, what is happening is that because most of these creative drugs are not listed as drugs.
Wait. do we really need do we then need to kill an individual who invented fire the moment fire is used to burn houses when in actual fact fire was used to cook?
Well, the difficulty is here. If I would look, like I'm no doctor.
Okay.
However, I would still want to see what useful method Dombo it could serve.
Okay.
Right? So we need to draw a line. As citizens, we need to draw a line in the sand and say, listen, drugs are bad.
Okay.
Right? And we need to come down hard on drug pushers.
Okay, we agree drugs are bad.
Yes, drug pushers must go.
Drug pushers must go.
Drug users require a different approach.
Okay.
Correct?
Yeah.
Because we now need to go into, this is the part where we sort of now, when you have a misbehaving child, you know, you now just don't go in to punish. Your interest is to look at why your child is misbehaving.
Okay.
Correct? We need to look at the socioeconomic factors that are pushing or are making drugs so attractive.
I am told there are no bad children, only bad parenting. Can we really say the same in relation to drugs?
Well,
there are no bad youth, they are simply better. Okay, fine, I will not finish the
statement,
but fine. Okay,
well, that makes it difficult, but what I do know is that drugs are bad. So from a drug enforcement point of view,
okay.
We need to come down, like I've already said, we need to come down on the suppliers, but on the opposite side, the users, we need to come in with a more corrective approach.
Okay.
What mediation can the state and the citizens and supporting agencies put in to rehabilitate drug users? What measures do we need to look at? Is it a socio-economic problem? Is it that children are not busy in school? Okay. Is it that people are unemployed? Is it
but what really do you think is the main reason why numbers of people who are engaging in drugs is continuously increasing by the day?
Well,
it is as if the more the rate rises, the more number of people who abuse drugs.
Correct. Though, you know, obviously I wouldn't. I see your analogy there. Though I wouldn't want to link the rates directly to drug use. However, the truth of the matter is we find ourselves in a difficult economic position. And this is the truth. Also, COVID did a number on on things. Yes. I mean, we lost so many months of educational time, and kids, unfortunately, some kids unfortunately fell into the hands of drug addicts. Also, typically, we also have a problem. Now, if you listen to the radio or if you take a walk in Copacabana, you will hear music progressively glorifying drugs, right? So whilst we have all of these problems, the truth of the matter is, in some economic and social sectors of this country, it seems the idea of drugs being cool, correct? The idea of drugs being cool is being peddled.
I remember growing up, you really would not fancy yourself holding a bottle of say beer, because you knew that socially it was a bad. But then right now you would really find it hard to even carry a Bible, because the Bible has taken the position which literally drugs away.
Correct. Which is why we're saying whilst we deal with we need to admit we have a problem.
Okay.
We need to agree there's a problem.
We agree there's a problem. One.
There's a problem.
Okay.
We need to agree that we need to clamp down on people who are increasing this problem.
The suppliers.
Not only the suppliers, but the marketers.
The marketers.
You know,
our entertainment industry.
Correct. Our censorship board.
Okay.
Right. So if you remember, a couple of months or a year or two ago, a certain song came out that spoke of a certain officer and whatnot, right? Which was then banned on the radio.
Yes.
Why can't we have music that glorifies a certain lifestyle, a drug-fueled lifestyle, censored and banned?
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
But can we not really attribute the soaring numbers of unemployment as well to our measures of
we can. Look, obviously, I'm not an economist.
So we agree that, okay, fine, drug abuse is bad.
Correct.
We agree that we need to clamp down on the suppliers, the marketers, and any individual who is really influencing drug abuse. And we also agree that also there is a problem in terms of who now is the role model in the society.
Correct. I absolutely agree.
If Jesus is the role model in the society, or say then people want to say behave like him. But then if drugs or drug dealers become the role model of a particular society,
we have a problem.
We have a problem entirely.
Look, the problem is undeniable.
Okay.
Look, we still ask ourselves questions why, in some instances, the drug dealers are known.
Okay.
And it seems like nothing ever happens. It's agreed. Drugs are killing the youth, right? Mm-hmm. We also agree we have an employment issue.
Yes.
Right? We have an employment problem, right? But as citizens, we need to look critically. Why we have one sector of the youth which is turning to drugs, and another sector which is not turning to drugs, right? Equally unemployed. You get what I mean? We need to go down to the grassroots. We need to go down to the grassroots and critically look at what is hurting the youth. Why is it so attractive to take drugs?
Let's talk of mental health.
Yes.
Recently, there's literally been a number of people who are committing suicide.
Correct.
Majority of them being men.
Well, assuming so.
Okay, assuming majority are men, what really do you think is the problem?
Mental health is a big problem in Africa. The truth of the matter is, in Africa, mental health is not taken seriously. If you go home right now and you tell your mother, "Mom, I'm feeling depressed," she'll say, "Jean to big." So this is one critical issue that in Africa, mental health, particularly in Zimbabwe, is not given the place it should be. We have no interventions, to come in and say, these are the mental conditions we recognize, right? And this is how we assist and treat.
So can we link mental health as well to drug abuse?
Yes, we can. In some instances, drug abuse is mental health is affected greatly by drug abuse.
Drug abuse as well. We also talk of friends.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, correct. Like you put you intimated it. If I have no job, right? If I have no job,
then I'll find a job.
And my friends, correct. If I have no job, right? If I can aspire to make anything of myself, the next plausible step is when I make $5, right? It's never gonna buy me a car, right? Let me just go buy $5
can do some gaba. Then ndotenga GT6.
As shandy. Do you get what I mean?
Okay.
This is critically. You've just mentioned something important, which adversely affects our mental health.
Yeah.
That as the youth, we feel we're in a corner.
Okay.
Critically, we're in a corner where our dreams are so far ahead, it makes no sense. You either give up and commit suicide, or you fall into drugs. But critically, when we speak for mental health, we need to make it okay as a country for people to admit and agree that they are not okay.
Okay.
We need the supporting legislation.
So it is okay not to be okay.
It's okay to not be okay.
Okay.
But we need the supporting legislation. Right? I should be able to tell my employer, right, or as a practicing lawyer, I should be okay to write a letter to the court and say, Honorable Justice, whilst I have a matter set down for today, mentally I am not okay. And that should be okay.
Okay.
Right? I should not be chastised for being depressed.
Okay.
Do you get what I mean? Okay. Right? It should be okay to not be okay.
So mostly the reason why mental health issues continue to rise is literally because we have not made it normal for people to speak themselves out.
Correct.
So individual,
you have to.
I am told growing up that men don't cry.
Correct.
mothers don't cry vana vachiona.
Correct.
Rowa garamba wakanyarara.
Fugama ni madzaku namatiremba yako.
Fugama unamati. A father is not coming back home at the end of the day.
Don't ask me where I was. I am providing.
I provide.
Yes. I'm your father. Yes, I'm your father. I'm not your friend.
So literally, do we agree that to an extent idealism may also have attributed to issues of mental health?
Absolutely.
Like literally the doctrine, the level of indoctrination that that children are actually born with affects us.
Absolutely. And this worries me the most.
Okay.
Because the youth, unfortunately, is bearing the brunt of mental health. We have so many of us who are suffering in silence. We have so many. I mean, if I were to sit here, so we're sitting in Harare right now. If you were to tell me, or if I were to ask, or tell you that I'm not feeling okay, where do I go? So if I have a sore throat.
But wait, you want to know where you go? Yes. Call 577. Say what you're always there. Perfect. You can continue.
Right. Okay. So critically, the issue that if I have a sore throat, I know where to find my doctor.
You know where to find the doctor.
I'm depressed.
Okay.
Who do I go see?
Mfundisi church.
Right? Mfundisi church.
Who might also be depressed himself.
Correct. Who's a spiritual doctor. Okay. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying I support religion. I'm a Christian myself. However, we need a marrying of these two things.
So mental health is not, it might not necessarily be a spiritual issue. It's a mental issue. So we need mental coaches.
Correct.
We need peer educators.
Correct.
We need booths where people can be able to share themselves up.
You get this.
Thank you so much.
It's that simple. Okay. To round, perhaps to come to a close on this issue.
Yeah.
If I need my heart operated on, I go to a surgeon. Okay. Correct? If I need my car fixed, I go to a mechanic. Right? So mental health should be the same. Okay. I should not have to approach.
So there's a missing market.
Correct.
On where you go to.
We need a comprehensive framework.
So now, until that framework is provided, the role of civic unions is lately been to ensure that mental health is an issue that is not paid lip service to.
Correct. But over and above that, we need an all-inclusive framework that deals with everyone and looks at everyone. No one should be left behind. Do you get what I mean?
Yes.
The difficulty we have is that we often allow certain issues to, for lack of a better word, be politicized.
Okay.
Mental health, unfortunately,
it's not a political issue. Okay.
It cuts across equally. Suicide equally cuts across. So we need an all-inclusive where we all sit at the table, agree that we need to start dealing with mental health. What saddens me is that over the past 2 weeks, the talk of mental health has become so severe because of perhaps 2 or 3 individuals that have taken their lives. Correct?
Yeah, correct.
But no one is thinking about the women and the men.
Their mothers as well who are dying.
Boys and girls who are dying in silence, who are most likely to go the same route. But because they're not popular enough,
and because they're not known, the only heroes we then celebrate, or the only heroes we then cry for, are the ones that we know.
Correct.
So, in short, we are saying there are people who are going unnoticed.
Correct.
And we do not notice them because they are never known.
Correct.
To wrap it up, any few words for the youth?
Look, I think critically as the youth, we really need to rise up and take hold of our future. It is in our hands, and we need to ensure that we come to the table, regardless of the barriers that are there.
Okay.
Barriers have been made to be broken,
okay.
And we need to ensure that we continue to break down all these barriers and contribute to our future, whether economically or socially. Okay. Everyone should do what they're good at. Okay. If you write to inspire. If you build to develop. Okay. Whatever it is you do it well.
Yo, thank you so much. I'm told growing up you look like your dad.
Yeah.
But when you're grown up, you look like your decisions.
Correct.
So ladies and gentlemen, today is the day that you should make a decision to build you, but also just ensure that we know our roles, each individual. individual has a role in national building. The youth, their role is not to sit down in silence. Their role is to rise up, say things that should be done, and be part of the ones that create change. Thank you so much, ladies and gentlemen, for being with us throughout this legal talk show, where we're celebrating International World Youth Day and raising some alarming issues on mental health, SDG number 3, social and wellness, as well as realizing how and what should be done to ensure that we reduce suicidal knots and suicides amongst the youth themselves. And yes, I'm Melusi Majojo, and this is Say What. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe on our social media handles, be on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.